Have you ever saved money so carefully that you started avoiding small needs, small repairs, even small joys because spending felt like danger? Have you ever felt that life is not falling apart because of one big disaster, but because of one small fear that repeats every day? If yes, listen to this story, because money can protect your peace, but when fear controls it, money becomes a cage you built with your own hands. In a small town called Maplebridge, there lived a man named Peter. Peter wasn't lazy. He worked early shifts at a local supply store, lifting boxes and loading vans. He loved his wife Sophie, and he loved his daughter Ella, the kind of love that makes a man promise, "I will keep you safe." But Peter had one hidden weakness. He was afraid to spend money. So he saved everything in a white envelope taped beneath a kitchen drawer. On the front, he wrote one word in dark ink: secure. Each time he added bills, he felt calm for a moment. Then the fear returned. To save more, Peter delayed small repairs. When the kitchen tap started dripping, he ignored it. When his old scooter made strange noises, he said, "Later." When Ella asked for colored paper for a school project, he said, "Next week." Sophie didn't argue, because arguing doesn't fix fear. She only said quietly, "Peter, we can't save our way out of every problem." Peter would answer, "We have to be careful." But being careful started to look like being trapped. One Tuesday morning, Peter's scooter refused to start. He kicked the stand, tried again and again until his hands shook. By the time he caught a bus, he arrived late to work. His supervisor, Mr. Wallace, didn't shout. He just said, "Peter, we open at 7. If you keep arriving late, I'll have to replace you." Peter nodded. It won't happen again. But inside, he felt something worse than anger: shame. That evening, Ella came home holding a thin folder like it was treasure. "Dad," she said, eyes bright, "I got chosen for the town art display." Peter forced a smile. "That's wonderful." Ella pulled out a small, hand-cut silver star made from paper with her name written neatly in the center. "This is my signature star. It goes on my artwork." Then her voice became serious. "Dad, there's an entry fee. The town office takes payments tomorrow morning only. The window closes at 8:10. If it's not paid by then, they give my place to someone else." Ella held the silver star out to him. "Can you keep this safe? And please, please don't be late." Peter swallowed, feeling his old fear rise, because he knew his history. Still, he looked at her and said, "I promise, I'll do it early." Ella hugged him and whispered, "I'll be waiting for your message." That night, Peter meant to prepare, but he stayed on his phone too long, scrolling without thinking, telling himself he deserved a break. Morning came. Alarm. Snooze. Snooze again. He sat up with a shock in his stomach and grabbed the envelope from the drawer with shaking hands. He ran to the bus stop and froze. A paper sign was taped to the pole. "Route delayed. Road work." Peter checked the time. 7:35. His chest tightened. He still had time, but not much. When the bus finally came, it crawled through traffic. Peter stared out the window like staring could move the road. He reached the town office at 8:12. The payment window was closed. Peter stood there holding cash in one hand and Ella's silver star in the other, staring at the locked glass like it was a judge. When he got home, Ella looked up instantly. "Did you pay it?" she asked. Peter couldn't lie. "No." Ella's face didn't explode into tears. It did something quieter. Her eyes dropped, and she gently took the silver star back from his hand, as if it didn't belong there anymore. "I understand," she whispered, but her voice didn't sound like understanding. It sounded like disappointment, learning to live inside a child. Sophie said nothing for a long moment. Then she whispered, "You didn't lose money today, Peter. You lost her trust." Peter turned away so they wouldn't see his eyes fill. Peter thought the story ended at a closed window, but that night Sophie would show him something he couldn't ignore, something fear had been costing them quietly for years. That night, the kitchen tap finally gave up. The drip became a stream. Water spread across the floor. A towel didn't stop it. Another towel didn't stop it. Peter stared, panicking, and all he could think was, how much will this cost? Sophie looked at him with tired eyes. "We were afraid to spend 50, and now we may spend 500. Peter's throat tightened. The next morning, he walked into a small repair shop near the bridge, run by an older woman named Mrs. Lane. Peter explained everything: the envelope, the fear, the missed deadline, the leaking tap. Mrs. Lane listened without judging. Then she pulled a rusty toolbox from under her counter. She held it up and asked Peter, "Peter, what is a tool for?" "To fix things," Peter whispered. Mrs. Lane nodded. "And what happens if you lock it away because you're afraid it will get used?" Peter didn't answer. She leaned in, voice calm and sharp. "Money is a tool," she said. "If you hide it from life, life will break things until you are forced to use it at the worst time." Peter's eyes stung. Mrs. Lane gave him a simple checklist. Fix leaks first, anything that's actively damaging your life. Split money into 3 envelopes: repairs, safety, and growth. Spend on what prevents panic, not what feeds fear. Write down every spend so your mind stops calling it loss. If you make a promise, pay early, because deadlines don't care about excuses. Peter swallowed. Ella lost her place. Mrs. Lane nodded once. Then earn it back. Go to the office, ask if there's a second chance. Peter did. The clerk said, "If you bring the fee tomorrow before 8:10, I can add her to the waiting list, but it must be on time." Peter nodded. It will be. That night, Peter prepared like a man preparing for something sacred. He put the fee into a new envelope labeled Promise. He placed it on top of his keys. He set 2 alarms. He charged his phone. He even laid out his clothes. Ella watched him quietly. Before bed, she placed the silver star on top of the envelope. "So you don't forget what it's for," she whispered. Peter's eyes filled. "I won't." Peter left early, but early doesn't remove problems. It only gives you time to face them. And Maplebridge was about to stack obstacles in his way like a test. At 7:05, Peter stepped outside. Rain started. Hard, cold rain that made the road shine. Halfway to the office, traffic stopped. A sign flashed. Bridge closed. Flood check. Detour. Peter's heart jumped. He checked the time. 7:22. He still had space. He took the detour. Then a bus ahead stalled, blocking the lane. People began honking, complaining, panicking. Peter didn't freeze. He parked safely, grabbed the promise envelope with the silver star on top, and started walking. Rain soaked his jacket. His shoes splashed through puddles. His legs burned. At 8:03, he reached the town office steps. At 8:07, he reached the window. He slid the envelope through with shaking hands. The clerk stamped the receipt and said, "You're in." Peter stood still for a moment, like his body didn't trust the win. Then he ran home. Ella was waiting by the door. Peter held up the stamped receipt and the silver star. Ella's shoulders relaxed. Her mouth formed a small smile that looked like safety returning. Sophie covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. Peter knelt and said, voice shaking, "I'm sorry I made fear the boss in our house." Ella pressed the silver star into his palm again. "Just don't drop it," she whispered. Peter nodded. "I won't." That afternoon, Mr. Wallace called. "I heard you walked through the rain to make it on time. I need someone reliable for morning shifts. Can you do that?" Peter looked at the silver star and answered simply, "Yes." I can. So, my friend, are you like Peter? Remember this: money is a tool, not a prison. Save wisely, but use money with purpose before small leaks become big losses and before fear steals the moments that matter most.